Hello, grade sixes. I hope you had a wonderful Easter break. We are getting back into Desmos, so we have been doing Desmos and comparing them, and today we are going to learn about how to add Desmos. So we can use base 10 blocks to show Desmos. So often we use these as to show, oh, that's 1 and that's 10 and that's 100, but we can also use base 10 blocks to show Desmos. So we could say that this is really like 1, and this is 1/10 because you need 10 of these to make one of these. And then this could be like 100th because you need 10 of those to make 1/10, or you need 100 of those to make one whole thing. So we could look at that way. So we could say this is 1 and 1/10 and 100th. And I just want to say thank you to my husband for taking the door off of our dryer so I could use something magnetic and that I could write on. So thank you to Eric. Also, thank you to Micah and Samantha and many other people for doing their homework on Thursday. Good job. Okay, so adding Desmos. So we could think of this as 1 and 1/10 and 100th. And so just like in regular place value, each digit increases by 10 times the value when you move to the left, and it decreases by, it becomes 1/10 of the value when you move to the right. So remember, if you had 333, this 3 doesn't really mean 3, that really means 300, and that 3 really means 3 tens or 30, and that 3 means 3 ones. So 30 would be 10 times 3, and 3 as in 300 is 10 times the 30, or 100 times the 3. So just like in a decimal number, like 1.11, this 1 is 10 times more valuable than this one. And this 1 is 10 times more valuable than this one. So we can use these base 10 materials to help us examine Desmos and help us add Desmos as well. So let's try an exercise here. So we're going to try regrouping a little bit. So if you have, more than 10 hundredths or 10 tenths, then we can regroup to another thing. So let's try these. Okay, so exercise A. So just say we have 3/10 and 12 hundredths. Okay, so what does this look like? So if we have 3/10, 1, 2, 3. Look like this. And 12 hundredths. See. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so how would we write that? So, well, we have 3/10, so that's like this, and we have 12 hundredths, so that's like this. Now, you notice that we can't write 2 digits in one place, so this 1 really gets moved over to the tenths place. So really, we have too many hundredths to keep in the hundredths place, so why don't we take some of those out? So let's take 10 of those out and change that into another tenth. So, because 10 hundredths is really the same as 1 more tenth. So let's take out 10 of these. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, great. So then we have, 3, that's like saying 3/10 plus 12 hundredths. We can add those together. You see that we really have 4/10 and 2 hundredths. Okay, so you can regroup things to help us add. So let's try this next one. So if we had 7 ones and 18 tenths. What would that look like? Okay. Of these. I don't know how we're going to fit all these on here, but let's go for it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's see. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so we've got those all jammed on here. So what does that look like? So we have 7 ones, so that's just like a regular 7, and then we have 18 tenths. So that looks like 1.8 because we can't put those in the same place. So 1.8, well, why don't we take a bunch of these out and we can get another one like this. So how many would we take out? Well, we would take out 10 because 10 of these lined up would make another one. So let's take out 10. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we can have another one like this. So we're going to look at what's 7 plus 1.8. So that's like, we can write it like this. 1.8, and we would have 8.8. So 8 ones and 8 tenths. Okay, so I hope that gives you a little indication of how you can add things using the base 10 materials and regrouping. Now I'm going to show you how do we line things up, and so you can see what I've done here. So let's look at how do we line decimals up when we add. Okay, so if we were adding a regular number like 351 and we were adding 12, what would be the problem here? Well, it's not lined up properly, right? Because here's our ones here and here's our ones. Here's our tens and our tens. And we can't add ones to a group of tens because this 5 doesn't really mean 5, it really means 50. So we have to line this up, right? So we'd have to say 351 plus 12. Well, it goes the same way when you're adding decimals. You have to line up the same place values, one underneath another. So for A, if we wanted to add 3.4 plus 1.5, we would add it like this. So 3.4 plus, we put the 1 under the 3 because those are both in the ones place, and then we put our decimal, and then we would put our tenths place, and we would add like that. So 5 tenths and 4 tenths are 9 tenths. 3 plus 1, 4. We would have 4.9. Okay, let's try another one here. So B, 4.6 plus 2.1. So again, you line up the decimals, you line up the ones, and you line up the tenths. So it would be 4.6 plus 2.1. And see how our decimal is lined up right here? And we get 7 tenths and 6 whole ones. Now, what if we have two decimal numbers that don't have the same amount of digits? So let's try something like that. So if we have this one, 0.78 plus 0.4. So where would we line them up? So normally in a larger number, like let's say we had 356 and 28, then we would line up at the end here. So we'd line up like this. But it's a little different with decimal because we don't want to align everything to the right. We want to make sure that the decimals are lined up where they should be. So we will say 0.78 plus 0.4 because this is a tenth, this 4 is a tenth, and that needs to go under the 7 that is a tenth. Now what do we do here? 8 plus nothing, or 8 plus a blank. What does that mean? Well, we can see this as a 0. Really, it means that we have 0 hundredths. So 8 plus 0 is 8, 7 plus 4 is 11. Well, what do we do with that? So remember, that's like saying we had 11 tenths. So 11 of these. We could take 10 of those and trade it in for a big one like this. And we would be left with 1 tenth and 1 whole one. So 1.18. Okay, let's try one more question and then I'll give you your homework for the day. So what if we had 34.85 and 65.1? Okay, so again, we line up where the decimal is. We make sure we line up the tenths with the tenths place. So even though that one has 2 places after the decimal, we don't move that one over there because then we would be adding a tenth place with a hundredth place. So we imagine that there's a 0 here because that's really like saying we have 10 hundredths compared to 85 hundredths. Okay, we add those up, 9, 9, 9. Great. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and if you need to rewatch it again, that's fine. I will write your homework on the board here, and I'll also email it to you and put it in the video description. So the homework is pages 15 to 17, numbers 2, 4, 5, and 8. So just 4 questions there, and great. So 4 questions, great. Thanks for watching.